Veritas Acquitus by Bones Boy 15, Chapter 23, Mother Humper. Hey, guys, can I ask a question? Naruto nervously spoke into a small microphone that was clipped around his neck that connected to an earpiece in his right ear, which was currently pressed down by two of his fingers. He couldn't help his nervous. The deserted valley was not a comfortable place to be once the sun dropped down beyond the mountain ridge and the moon started to climb. Naruto shivered as a small gust of wind brushed past his loaned t-shirt and formed goosebumps on his exposed arms. No sooner had he gotten the Rasen guard did his clothes start to deteriorate. Apparently, the graboid's stomach acid worked slower on items that were deemed easily digestible, clothing, wood, and various other fibers, and faster on more complex meals such as huntsmen or huntresses' weapons or their items. So now Naruto was clad in baggy orange jeans, something he was damned sure that he was going to keep, that were held up by a utility belt courtesy of Gert, a spare set of combat sandals courtesy of his godfather. I keep telling you idiots to always be prepared, but you never listen to me. And a solid black t-shirt that was just large enough to give him breathing room, but not too large to be obscenely baggy. His parents' rings were back in Gert's truck, protected by similar rune-like designs that were on Ross and Garden. Overall, it was a nice new look that kept him cool when the sun was up, but now he was damn near freezing. He just did, Naruto. To in fact, piss off, Kurama. Kid, don't abuse the radio. Naruto, ask your question. Jiraiya hissed quietly through the line. Kurama's small growl at the name was barely heard. Why am I the bait? Naruto asked. His eye twitched. Again? Seriously, he'd been standing out in this desert for about 3 hours now, and the last worm out of three others, including the bastard that ate him, hadn't come snooping while Naruto practiced using his new gauntlets, with the original plan of Naruto making noise, drawing the graboids in while he practiced using his new gauntlets or blast. On a side note, Rasengan is the best weapon hand-me-down ever. John was so going to be jealous. So was Ruby, for that matter. Because you, in your own words, taste like ramen, Haku reminded the blonde of his theory. No one argued it, and Kurama proposed jokingly that it had merit due to the amount of heavenly noodles Naruto could consume. While it seemed like a good idea at the time, the whiskered blonde was a tad battle-hungry after the last two fights with the Grim Worms. Fuck me, Naruto groaned out of boredom. That's Yang's job, not ours, Sasuke and Kurama simultaneously replied. They were obviously enjoying his misery. You guys suck. Why are we friends again? Because you're a dumbass and wouldn't leave us alone when we were younger. Again, simultaneous. Dicks. Who's Yang? Gert asked, intrigued. The brat's girlfriend. Aren't you supposed to be watching the seismograph? Jiraiya asked. I am watching the seismograph. Our graboid is about 30 clicks west. He's not that interested yet. Naruto, you need to make more noise, run around, do something, I don't care, but get their mother humper's attention, will you? Yeah, yeah. Naruto sighed and began to limber up. 2 minutes after he finished losing his joints, he started to shadow fight, throwing punches and kicks in various combinations. Rasengan unfolded, silent as the desert night around him, and joined in the shadow fight. For 45 minutes, Naruto was entertained. At the hour mark, he sighed once again and stopped. Guys, I'm getting bored. How are you bored? Jiraiya demanded. You're live bait in a grim hunt, hunting a rare grim that not many huntsmen or huntresses have ever encountered. Naruto, you need to stay focused, Haku urged. I know, Naruto whined shamelessly. Though unnatural for a teenager, it wasn't really that surprising for one who raised oneself from childhood to keep their childish faults, i.e., Naruto's phasmophobia. But still, I got an idea. Kurama's smirk was audible to the whiskered blonde, who now wondered what was on his haunted friend's mind. Softly, with only a crackle of static to accompany his voice, a single word came through the earbud. Penis. Naruto's face spread into a wide smile. Oh, hell the fuck yes. Slightly louder than his friend and without using the radio. He didn't want to hear the pervy sage bitch and moan about his poor ears. Now, nor did he want to hurt Haku or Gert. Now to continue the game. Penis! Penis. Kurama's voice rose higher than Naruto's, but he was still no louder than a whisper. You guys are so immature. Sasuke groaned over the radio. Jiraiya could be heard laughing in the background with Gert, while Haku's chuckles were a bit louder. Shut up, Uchiha, Kurama muttered. Don't be a loser. Penis! Naruto said the word modestly louder, or what normal parents slash guardians would call an inside voice to a young child. Kurama huffed over the radio. Impatient. The faunus cut himself off the radio, and Naruto closed his eyes. Faintly from beyond a small rock formation a good distance away, he heard an echo of penis. Oh, it's on now, Otsutsuki, the blonde mumbled. He cupped his hands around his mouth and then took a deep breath as loud as he could. Naruto shouted out the word. Shouted out to the world the five-letter word that was considered a taboo to shout. Penis! The world echoed in the night, and Naruto smirked. No one could beat him at the penis game. He was the King Dong of Khan Academy all throughout his educational career. Heck, he even spent a night at the Khan Detention Center behind bars for making a public disturbance late at night. He wasn't as restrained or put with any potential pedophiles, thank the mighty noodle gods, but he was behind bars. Naruto was just glad the event was destroyed along with the rest of his juvenile delinquent records when he turned 16. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to get into Beacon. Bullshit. I demand a rematch. Kurama hissed angrily over the radio, while Haku was openly laughing alongside Jiraiya angered. And you said I'm a sore loser. I will show that picture. Do not tempt me. Boys, shush. Gerd cut in. Naruto's smile fell as the radio went silent for a moment, and the sounds of the desert nightlife returned to dominance. His eyes began to dart around, and he flexed his hands, shifting Rasengan into and out of active status. A soft rumble gained his attention. A hand lifted up to press the earbud. Uh, guys, he asked softly. Another rumble had him turn around on his rock, and he lifted his free hand. The spiral rune on his palm glowed in preparation. Yes, Rasengan did lack physical projectiles, but the use of its only runes was in the thousands. Naruto especially enjoyed using the palm runes as minor repulsor blasters. They were super effective. Guys, seriously, what's going on? Naruto asked again. Talk to me here. I'm the one that tastes like ramen, remember? My life is on the line here. Eating don't make guys, Naruto cut in. The radio crackled for a second before finally he got a response. Naruto, you've got to get out of there, Haku urged. What? There's not more than one coming for me, is there? No. Gerd came over the radio. No, it's just one. I may have miscalculated its initial size, though. It's not almost 10 meters. Tell me it's smaller, please. In the name of the holy ramen, let it be smaller. Naruto prayed over the radio. No such luck, kid. This beast is shit. Don't move, Jiraiya hissed. Radio silence now. The radio cut dead, and Naruto went still. The light in the gauntlets went out, and he stopped thinking as a massive mound of dirt began to rise up in front of him, almost double the normal width of the previous graboid emergence points. The ground gave way, and a massive white worm shot up. The mask was pitch black, and the red and yellow coloring had reversed. The albino graboid rose to about maybe 15 meters, its widest points of the midsection caught in the middle, so it would be fair to estimate the size at about 30 meters total. The grim worm fell to the side, just a meter or so from Naruto's position. Its beak opened, and the snake-like tongue that were usually the size of a human or Faunus's arms was easily as tall as his godfather. Oh, wonderful. I get to deal with a genetic freak of nature, Naruto thought sardonically. One of the tongues moved towards him, and Naruto had to fight back every instinct to blast it. Instead, he started a mantra. 5 simple words. Don't move. It'll go away. Of course, the tongue retracted, and the graboid slunk back into its hole. It disappeared deep underground, and Naruto felt uneasy. Naruto, Kurama whispered over the radio. Naruto, make a distraction, blow up a rock or something. The sound should draw it away. Naruto licked his lips and craned his head so that he could peer down into the hole. Nothing was there, but something was still wrong. No. Blue eyes narrowed and flashed gold for a brief second. His hand, still on his ear, pressed down on the piece. No, this one won't fall for it. Naruto, listen to me, Gert said. This mother humper will go away. You just got to make a distraction so we can all get back to my truck. We have to regroup and get in contact with Vale or Vacuo. Jiraiya agreed. That'll take too long. What if he goes to the town? Naruto asked softly. He looked around when he heard a small rumble. Or worse, what if it's repopulating? Naruto, I'ma go for it. Naruto let his arm fall and rolled his shoulders. His gauntlets filled with aura and began to hum lighter. Go for what? The others asked in annoyance. Just have another set of spare clothes ready, Naruto mumbled. He was not keen on getting eaten again, but if he could do this right, then that would deal with the problem for good. Naruto, don't you dare! Jiraiya shouted over the radio. The ground shook and Naruto smirked. Knew it, he cried as the worm came back into sight. He lifted his hands above his head and then threw them down. His semblance flared to life just as his palms exploded in enough aura to give him the proper amount of thrust. Naruto shot into the air above the graveloid's emergence hole and glared down at the albino monstrosity that rose up after him. All right, you ugly son of a bitch, it's ramen time. His semblance and aura output cut out just as the grapploid's beak opened and it let out a roar as he fell into the monster's open maw. Again, Naruto could only wonder how everyone else was doing. Why, why was our mission the one that was postponed? John groaned. He took Pyrrha's offered hand and got back to his feet before he glowered at his team's opponent. The self-proclaimed beautiful green beast, might Guy. Thankfully, Guy let them wear their normal attire during their spar. Unfortunately, what they wore wasn't affecting the outcome of the fight. Guy was still kicking their butts. Even Nora, the heavy hitter of Team Juniper, was being swatted away like she was an annoying gnat. Her massive mallet wasn't able to leave a mark because Guy would send her packing once she got close enough. Like now, leave whirlwind! The spandex-clad huntsman jumped into a spinning roundhouse that nailed Nora right in her gut. John and Pyrrha had to step out of the way as the orange-haired girl soared past them. They watched Ren try to engage Guy in martial arts, only to be bested by a barrage of punches, kicks, and finished with an over-the-shoulder toss. Ren landed at the two shield bearers' feet and groaned. A hand reached up and grabbed John's leg. Okay, your turn, Ren said, his voice muffled by the dirt. Any ideas? Pyrrha asked John. Well, we could always beg for mercy, John mumbled. John, okay, oh, I know. John held his shield up to cover his and Pyrrha's head from John's side. From Guy's side. Guy watched in mild amusement. I wonder if I should teach him a lesson about leaving himself open like that. It's not very wise or youthful in a fight. But then again, to suddenly break into a team huddle would throw tournament opponents off. Why, what would my hip and cool rival do? Show no mercy, Guy. Fair enough. Guy grinned widely and burst into action. He rushed at the two sword and shield users. His speed toward the grass right from the ground. As he jumped in the air and thrust his left leg out from his side, he gave them the benefit of the doubt and called out one of his favorite attacks. Dynamic entry! Named and created, of course, by his late father, Maito Dai. Pyrrha and John poked their heads over. John shield at Guy's proclamation. Their eyes widened in horror as the gaudy orange greave approached John's shield in almost slow motion. For some reason, I have the urge to smack PJ and Pyrrha upside the head. Naruto thought while he struggled around in the albino grapploid's gut. He could almost feel the stomach acid start to tickle his toes. Shame too, he liked those sandals. Naruto grunted and continued to struggle in the confined space. If he could just manage to get an arm free. In hindsight, this was a lot simpler in theory. Get eaten, use Rasengar to blow myself out in a Ruby-like fashion, and then go home for some ramen and some cuddle time with Yang. Wait, what if I combine the two? But where would I get a tub that big? Naruto thought to himself again. He would have said it aloud, but there was a whole encompassing of internal organs dedicated to keeping him in place, like one of the tongues somehow inverted and bound around him like he was in one of Haku's dark fantasies. There was a damn reason Haku used the whip as an alternative weapon, and even though Kurama and Sasuke didn't see it, those fools thought Naruto was reading too much into it. Naruto was sure he was right about why that was. Hell, he was going to ask Jiraiya about about it once he got out of this situation. If anyone would know, it would be the super pervert. The super pervert. It was required via the title to be knowledgeable on and have performed all kinks known to man and faunus alike. Yes, Jiraiya was an expert on faunus king as well as human. He said not only due to his title was it required, but also for his work, i.e., his pornographic tales that were disturbingly accurate in detail, like the one part where Nimato stimulates his bed partner's breast by manipulating his aura too. Damn, my short attention span. Stop thinking about boobs, brain, and focus on getting out of here. Naruto mentally yelled at himself, his eyes squeezed shut, and he shuffled his arms. If I can just get one hand free. Come on, what do you have to do to get free from these things? The strength of 10 men. Oh, wait, the semblance. Naruto's skin began to glow, and his arms slowly began to push the inverted tongues away from his body. Good, now he could inhale, he could focus, and that meant, is it me, or is something jabbing my oh shit? Naruto silently swore as the stomach acid began to flood the chamber he was in. His lone clothing already gone, the path of his past clothes, but surprisingly, Rosengard was perfectly intact. In fact, the glow of the runes matched his skin's shine perfectly. Pushing those thoughts to the side, he lifted his left hand, since it was further spread from his body and now able to twist around, up, and held the palm out. Golden aura fired in a constant stream from the center rune in his hand, burning through the tongue that bound him, and a loud squeal of pain echoed in the chamber. Naruto winced at the volume. Any phonies would probably be deafened for at least a day before the effects wore off, but kept the heat on. His body free from the seared muscle, Naruto openly grinned and added his right hand to the mix, taking a bit too much enjoyment in the creature of Grimm's pain. Yeah, yeah, like that, you fuck. Have some heartburn, courtesy of your Naruto-flavored snack. Naruto aimed up and cut through the side, which earned him another eardrum-shattering squeal from the albino grabloid. Naruto grit his teeth and directed more aura into his beam. Burn, motherfucker! Burn! I'm going to kill him, Jiraiya decided as they followed the racing behemoth beneath the ground in Gert's truck. His eyes were glued to the seismograph that was tracking the large red dot. His eyes widened as the beacon ceased moving and disappeared from the screen. What? Booner, your hunk of junk is malfunctioning again? I don't think that's the machine, sir, Haku said owlishly, his eyes glued to the front of the vehicle. Before Jiraiya could turn around in his seat to ask him what he meant, Kurt slammed on the brakes, which caused the white-haired man to fly forward face first into the dash. Ow! God damn it, Booner, that hurt! Jiraiya howled as he covered his nose. He turned and glowered at his acquaintance. Hey, can I get an apology here? My nose is broken. Sorry. Wow, that sounded so sincere. Jiraiya grumbled and rubbed his nose. Thank God Aura heals so fast, bastard. If my face had been damaged, that's the moneymaker, damn it. Pervy Sage, you really need to see this. Kurama pointed past the man. What are you? Oh! Jiraiya blinked as a beam of gold fire-like energy pierced through the ground into the sky. Well, I think it's safe to say I know why the machine malfunctioned. Would you check the size of that? Like, at its length? Kurama mumbled. Its girth is massive, Jiraiya added. You're both disgusting, Sasuke said dryly. And yet you're the one that reads the dirty book, Sasuke. Piss off, Kurama. I think it's safe to say Naruto is still alive and his gauntlets are still intact this time, Haku said dryly. Their team leader was scarcely durable. Like Kurama had told Sun, it would probably take an atomizing attack to completely eradicate his body, or something with enough force to pierce Naruto's semblance. Yes, he is, Gert chuckled. He put the truck in park, killed the engine, opened the door, and hopped out. He pulled off a mounted shovel from the truck's hood and began to make his way over to where the beam had fired up. Where are you going? Jiraiya asked. Gonna make sure that the kid doesn't die from suffocation? That, or save the gauntlets if he already did, Gert called over his shoulder. Jiraiya hurriedly got out of his seat and rushed after the older man, grumbling obscenities along the way about paranoid and selfish old coots. Well, at least he has his priorities in order, Kurama drawled. He tapped his chin as Sasuke got out of the back to follow the two older men. Makes me wonder how much those gloves would go for on the market. Kurama, Haku admonished the faunus. What? It's not like anyone would be able to use them. Besides, this is the invincible idiot we're talking about. He's fine. Kurama sounded a bit unsure of that. He looked at Haku and put a hand on his shoulder. To be safe, I'd start thinking about how you'll tell Yang that her idiot died after being eaten by a giant worm. You're a horrible friend, Haku frowned. So I've been told, but at least I'm not his enemy. Can you imagine what I'd be like then? Kurama's question went unanswered as the two got out of the truck and followed the others. They had an idiot to dig out of a hole. End of chapter 23.